I would like to introduce you to someone who's been an extreme supporter and helping us pave the way to do this the right way. Senator Markley.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me just say what my experience of this issue was and how I got involved with it. I'm ranking member on the Human Services Committee, and last year we had a bill come before us concerning not daycare, but which came a different route, but the personal care attendants for disabled people. And a woman named Kathy Ludlam contacted my aide, Pam Salamone. Many of you know Pam, who's been very involved in this as well, and wanted to talk to me. Well, Kathy, who is one of the most extraordinary people I've ever met, just an admirable, intelligent, articulate woman who has a team of people that allow her to live an independent and effective, useful, and happy life with their help in a cooperative situation. And she and her attendants came in and said, we don't need a union interfering in this relationship. And they had a very good argument, in my opinion. And so I talked to them about making sure they testified at the public hearing and so forth. The testimony they gave was sufficiently convincing that although the Human Services Committee passed the bill, it passed it with some Democratic opposition, and the bill was allowed to die somewhere along the process. Because even though it was coming from a Democratic governor to a Democratic legislature, the legislators themselves were uncomfortable going ahead with it. With something that would force somebody who depends on people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for aid in every aspect of their life, to go through some kind of grievance process when they wanted to change attendance. And again, the attendants themselves, knowing that the union wasn't going to be able to do anything, they didn't need somebody to negotiate with Kathy Ludlam. So I thought, good job, we beat it, and avoided a bad bill. Then last summer, on his own authority, Governor Malloy signed these two executive orders, one affecting the personal care attendants and the other affecting the daycare workers, the two bills that had been in process. And I have to say I was amazed. I had no expectation that he would do such a thing, and it seems to me, on the face of it, an unconstitutional act. The very fact that he had come to the legislature to ask us for the bill seems to me to be an indication that he knew that the legislature had to pass it, and that he didn't have the authority to do it on his own. It wasn't an emergency situation. And since that point, I've been involved first with Kathy and that community, and since with Maria and the home care workers, daycare workers, to find a way to stop this. And we've got basically two venues, which you'll hear about. One is through a legal challenge, and the second is by opposing developments in the legislature. And Rob will talk about that a little bit, but we do have, as I think most of you know, two more bills before the legislature now, which effectively would confirm what was done by the executive orders and attempt to move that process forward. They will be heard by the Labor Committee on Tuesday at 2:30, so one of the things we'll be talking about is opposition to them. I think there's a chance of stopping those bills, because the same discomfort that existed among the Democrats last time will exist again. And also that in the chaos of the session, lots of things don't happen that might happen. But in any case, the heart of the lawsuit applies in either instance. And to talk a little bit about what those executive orders did and how that has developed is my friend and the state representative from here in Wolcott, and an absolute tiger, Rob Sampson.
Good morning, everybody. Very, very pleased to see so many seats filled in our little chamber today. It's the one thing that has really been the problem for me all along. Senator Markley and I have been in this fight since the day of the executive orders. We put out press releases, I think, within hours, and expected a massive reaction from the press to say, geez, you know, the governor's trying to do something he should not be able to do. And I guess that was my first reaction as well, is just pure disbelief. I wondered if the governor had missed that day in school when they went over the three branches of government. the executive branch, of course, is responsible for enforcing our laws and not making them. That is the duty of the legislature. So for him to go right around the legislature, as Senator Markley pointed out, was a complete affront to those of us who are sitting in those chairs responsible for doing that, regardless of our party affiliation. And we were shocked to see that even members of his own party were not willing to, at least because of that, maybe point out that same problem. I mean, this is one of the main founding principles of our form of government, the fact that we will not tolerate an oppressive regime. I mean, all you got to do is think about the Boston Tea Party. That's what we're about. It was my reason for entering politics to begin with, is that I didn't want to see the government become larger and more powerful and take away the individual freedoms of myself, my family, and neighbors and friends. And that's exactly what these executive orders did. The bills themselves are just a continuation of that process. We're going to do a Q&A, and I had actually prepared a ton of notes, but I was thinking to myself that I would just bore you guys to death if I went through this whole process beginning to end, and so I'm not going to do that. But I think that Maria laid out what happened very, very effectively, and what matters most is where we are now anyway. So we're going to do this Q&A, and hopefully if there are any questions about how we got to this point and what we can do from here, that's going to come out, and I would urge everyone to ask as many questions as they possibly can. I also want to recognize a couple of other legislators in the room. We could have made this panel 25 people if we wanted to, but there's no sense in repeating a lot of the same things. But Representative Al Adolfi is here, as well as Senator Jason Welch from Brooklyn. So with that, I'll just say that there was a couple of ways to stop this, and the first one would have been a massive reaction by the press and the media to intimidate the governor into backing down. That was what I would have appreciated from the beginning. That's what I think should have happened. Second would have been the majority party in the legislature calling a session and demanding some sort of redress for what the governor had done, and that didn't occur either. So we are left with trying to drive public opinion to the point where people are upset enough to make this an issue with their own legislatures and force them to act. And finally, the last possible avenue we have, which unfortunately is the expensive one, is a legal challenge. And that's where we are today.